Welcome to the meeting, and hopefully the people that have to phone in will be able to see all of the PowerPoint slides I'm going to present a little bit later. And with that, what I wanted to do was to share with you some of the stuff I've done on meteor scatter, some of the background on how it works, how it's done. And for me, it's been a lot of fun. And with that, let me see if I can get PowerPoint up and running. I'm going to share and desktop. Screen 2. You stopped your video when you started sharing. Is that going okay?
Yep, we've got a blue background with logic manual in the top left there, Mike. And the first slide of your presentation, fantastic.
Cool, it worked. Amazing. Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is meteor scatter operation. And a lot of the slides here are from a presentation by Mark Tarpley, N4UFP. I modified it quite a bit. His original presentation, which you can find if you would search PowerPoint presentations for meteor scatter on the web, actually has quite a bit of the mathematics involved. If you're interested in that, you can go ahead and take a look. So what I plan on doing today is give you a little bit on my experiences, some of the basics of meteor scatter, talk about MSK144, which is the digital mode that's predominantly used for meteor scatter these days. What you need to do to get on the air with meteor scatter, and a little bit of a demo. It won't be a live demo, but basically I recorded some stuff off the air, so at least to be able to see what it looks like and how it sounds. So my experiences, in April 2017, I had a good talk with my good friend Hassan, M0AN, who was really active in meteor scatter at the time. And from what he was talking about, it looked pretty intriguing for me. So I decided I'd start looking into it. So my initial go-through, I had a multi-band trap vertical that went 40 to 6 meters, my 100-watt through 6-meter radio, and gave it a shot with that. Now the trap vertical, as you might expect, is the beam, so it wasn't what you would call high performance. And it was also fed with a couple hundred feet of RG8X, the small coax. And since most of this work's done at 6 meters, as you can imagine, there's quite a bit of loss there. Nonetheless, I was able to make a few contacts, and I could see that there are quite a few people on the air, and it looked pretty intriguing to me. So based on that, I upgraded to my current setup in a few months, and have had a lot of fun since then. As of this date, I've made about 353 contacts on meteor scatter. As you'll see a little bit later, those contacts are within about a 12 to 1,300 mile radius. That's what you're limited to on meteor scatter based on the geometry. I've got a couple slides later that kind of illustrates what that's talking about. The best DX I've made is about 1,300 miles. So as you can guess, you can't do work to all states with meteor scatter. It's just not enough. Doesn't quite go far enough. Next few slides, I'll do a little bit of an introduction to what meteor scatter is and what meteors are. Some people will think of meteors as the big meteor scatter or big meteor showers we have, like the Perseids, where you can actually look up at the sky and see visual trails of the meteors going by. Those are actually a pretty small part of the meteors. Earth is bombarded every day, 24/7, by many, many small meteors. They generally arrive, they can be from all directions, and they come in with random velocities. They can get up to 70 kilometers per second. The picture there shows a Leonid meteor shower from space. The rate at which meteor scatters hit the Earth's atmosphere generally peaks about 6 a.m. local time. Now, I'll give you an idea of why that happens a little bit later. Between midnight and 6 a.m., the Earth is turning into the path of the meteors, and that's why you see more of them at that time. And also, meteors with higher velocity strike at that time. So let me bring up my pointer. So if we look at this graphic here, we've got the Earth, and this is the kind of the orbit of the Earth going in this direction. That goes at about 30 kilometers per second. And you can see during the sunrise period, the Earth is really sweeping into where the meteors are coming from. Later than that, then the meteors are actually going at the Earth from a different direction. So if you take into account the Earth's orbit speed and the speed of the meteors, then the earlier you go, then the faster the meteors are going to be. And the point of this is that the Earth intercepts more sporadic meteors at sunrise than it does at sunset. And another interesting point is the faster the meteor, the faster it burns up and the longer the meteor velocity trail is.
Or how radio on meteor, when the meteor come to Earth, so you can use your radio and improve your how far you can go.
Okay, going a little farther along, the meteor strike also varies annually, and about twice as many meteors strike the Earth's atmosphere per hour during the summer as during the winter. That shows up on this particular slide here. And if you look at what's happening, get my pointer up here. You can see during January and February, this is the daily rate of meteors hitting the Earth. And it is fairly low, but it starts picking up and peaks in summer. And on top of that, you can see here, these are the increase in meteors due to meteor showers. Here is one of the Perseids, Aquariids, Rhinids, Geminids, and so forth. Meteor scatter geometry, because the Earth rotates and moves around the sun, kind of random meteors tend to appear to cluster in this kind of shaded area, and either plus or minus 10 degrees from the transmitter to the receiver. And which hotspot has the greatest meteor concentration, which is what you want to use to bounce signals off, kind of depends on the time of day. As the meteors are vaporized in the upper atmosphere, they leave behind the ionized trails, and the ionized trails are what we want to go ahead and bounce our radio waves off. And they occur at heights of 60, 70 miles, which if you remember your propagation, that's right around the E layer. And they are sufficiently dense to reflect radio waves, VHF and VHF. Now, what's kind of important here is that a really long trail lasts 15 seconds, and most of them are much, much shorter, much less than 1 second. These short trails mean that any kind of communication we're going to use have to be sent in really short bursts to match that time frame. Now, the higher the intensity of the ionized trail from the meteor, then the higher the electron density and the more we can do the RF. So if we look at this particular slide, what we see here is that the electron density depends on increasing frequency. So the signal strength that you get shown here, you can see starts up and drops off very quickly with frequency. So at 2 meters, it's down to about neutral. 70 centimeters, it's really low. 50 megahertz, the 6 meter band, where the majority of meteor scatter takes place, is up in here. So that's one reason why 6 meters is the preferred band. Another issue is that the electrons that are generated in the meteor trail recombine, and that affects the scattering ability. And we kind of see the same thing here with frequency, in that it's best at 6 meters and then drops off really quickly. Meteor showers also obviously help, and they help us by getting many more meteors coming in. As we saw in that slide on the periodicity of the meteor trails, the rate can climb above 100 meters per hour in the meteor showers. In some of the early meteor scatter work, where people tried to make contacts with single sideband or CW, oftentimes you just do it during a meteor shower when you had a much greater rate and a much better chance of getting your signal through. The meteor showers occur when the Earth passes through a region of space rich in debris, probably from a comet. Yeah, when you see the Perseids, the Geminids, they're named after the constellation from which most of the meteors usually come. Here, now we go to communications, and under normal circumstances, 5 to 10 large meteors enter the Earth's atmosphere and leave behind the ionized trail. And once we saw before, individual trails last for only a short time, so we need to pack our information into small packets. And this one is kind of a key if you're trying to do meteor scatter. It's not quite like FT8 or some of the other modes, where if you've got a path, it's likely to stay there for a while. Meteors show up randomly, so you really never know when you're going to hit something off a trail. So you have to send the information over and over and over. Sometimes you don't have to do it very often. Sometimes you have to do it longer. And to keep the signal to noise ratio high, you need to keep a low bandwidth on your signal. So the next slide will kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about in meteor scatter geometry. So here, this cartoon here shows the transmitter and the receiver and what's going on up in the meteor region. So it's fairly thick, so it ranges from there to there. So what you're looking at is your transmitter will send off a signal. Maybe a meteor will be there, bounces off, and sends it down to the receiving signal or receiving receiver. That person or that station would then try to send another one up and bounce it back. Now, the meteor trail may or may not be there. So again, they would have to send maybe multiple times in order to get that there. On this cartoon, you're looking at 1,200 miles max. Obviously, depending on where you are in this range, it could be a little shorter or a little longer. The modes I indicated earlier, the earliest experiments with meteor scatter use CW and AM phone. And you can get some idea, you'd have to talk really fast, which is what you did. People also tried really high-speed CW. Well, it was a challenge, no doubt. And today, the majority of the contacts are with the digital modes. And what I'll be talking about a little bit later, MSK 144 is probably the go-to mode. This mode's part of the WSJTX protocols, which includes FT8, FT4, and the others. That was designed by Joe Taylor and his team. MSK 144 is a fairly complicated protocol. I'll just go through, skim over the protocol in kind of in general terms. If you want more detail, you can go to Joe Taylor's website and download the PDF of the MSK 144 protocol that will go in a lot more detail. It uses offset quadrature phase shift keying to transmit the data. Runs about 2,000 baud, and a single frame of data that gets sent is about 72 milliseconds. So you can see it's fitting within that 1 second minimum time frame for a burn of the meteor. There's 77 information bits. There's a lot of redundancy, so there's a 13-bit cyclic redundancy check, or CRC, and an 83-bit parity check. This frame is sent continuously over the 15-second period of when you're trying to do it. So data rate is about 250 characters per second. The protocol generally used is messages are sent in 15-second intervals, and kind of the protocol that's been set up by the meteor scatter people is if you're transmitting and sending your message to the east, then you would send it on even times, even 15-second intervals, if you will. If you're sending west, you would do it on 30-second intervals. Complete QSO in MSK 144 consists of an exchange of call signs, your 4-character grids, signal reports, and Rogers by both stations. If you're looking, you're right, that's exactly the same as you would see on FTA. So here's a typical message sequence. I would call CQ. CQ over 15 seconds. May take one time to do that. It may take quite a few times. You never know because the meteors are random. Okay, so on K1JT managed to pick up my signal, and in the next thing he sends me his grid square. He'll send that back to me. A certain period of time after that, I will get it. I will send him his signal report. He had a really good signal, plus 10. So I'll repeat that to him. Just like FTA. Then we go ahead, I give him the Roger, and Roger plus 5 in this case. And he Rogered me, so the next time I will say RRR, I received it. And he'll finish saying K1JT73. And we've completed a QSO. The time to do this, the minimum time would be six rounds of 15 seconds, which is kind of unusual. Not impossible, but unusual. And it can't, if the meteors aren't in your favor that day, it could take over an hour. And I've had QSOs that didn't take that long. So getting on the air, kind of the station requirements. Okay, you need at least 100 watts on 6 meters. Good VHF transceiver or transporter with a pretty good noise level, noise figure. So you may need a preamp. I've done quite well with my receiver in my radio. I worked the 353 contacts without a preamp, so you don't necessarily need that. Beam antenna works. It helps a lot. You'll make a lot more contacts faster if you do that. My station is a ICOM 7610. I've got an ACOM amp, runs 6 meters, usually run about 500 to 700 watts out. And of course, there'll be a JTX software. In my case, the ICOM uses USB audio in and out. Pretty handy for the audio modes. For the antennas for meteor scatter, Oops, sorry. Skip one. Skip one while I was trying to get my laser pointer out. Okay, you don't really need it to have a really high gain. Lower gain antennas illuminate more trails. That's shown by this antenna. This is the lower gain antenna, and you can see it has a wider beam width. So it sweeps a larger area of the area where meteor scatter or meteors would intersect the area, meaning you'd have a better likelihood of actually running into one. Downside is you have smaller effective radiated power, so the signal that you get off of them is going to be a little less. With a better gain antenna, okay, you've got a smaller beam width, higher effective radiated power, which means your signal is going to be greater going to the other guy. But the flip side is you won't contact as many meteors. So there's something to be said for both ways. Meteor contacts can be made with a 2-element Yagi, and higher gain antennas may or may not result in quicker QSLs. It's the randomness of the meteors that really make the difference. Okay, this is my antenna. The element on top is a 5-element loop-fed Yagi. It's got about 10 dBi of gain, and the loop feed you see on there, what that does is it provides much lower pickup of noise, and the lower noise you can do, the better off you are, because in the end, how well you receive depends on what kind of depend makes a difference on how well you can do. Just like FT8, you need time synchronization. So you need to set your clock because you want to be on the same time starting and finishing, so that you catch each other's information coming off the meteors. You can make them at any time, but being an early bird helps, and this early bird gets the worm in this mode. There are some scheduling sites for meteor scatter. Ping Jockey is probably the best known one, and you can schedule your QSOs with people that are on the site, or you can just broadcast that you're beaming to the east and you're transmitting 260, and people will look for you. Another one is DX World. That one may be high-speed meteor scatter, so it may be a little out of date. But at any rate, those are two that might get you going. General meteor scatter information also gives you more of the geometry of meteor scatter, that kind of thing. There's the QSL.net and the WSJTX operations site. Okay, let me turn to a demo. We'll see if we can get this to work. Okay, everybody see that?
We've just got your blue screen with the logic manual PDF in the top left, Mike.
Okay, gotta switch to the other one. Hang on a second. Let me do this.
You should be able to unshare and then reselect on a share again.
Hang on, gotta get my window set up right here. Okay, can you see that? Or did I knock off my share?
You're not sharing anything currently, Mike.
Okay. There we go. I click it. There. How's that?
There we go. We got it.
Now you got it. Okay, what I got up here you see is the usual LSGTX window. And you can see I got the mode selected as MSK144. What the program is decoding is audio files. So you can save those and play them back, which is what I'm going to do now. So I've saved a few files here, which indicate how shows. There we go. Get this out of the way. So what you're going to see is in the left window is a graph of the meteor scatter signals coming in. And on the right, you'll see the decoded that meteor scatter. So first one. Okay, so what you're seeing here, okay, here's two signals coming up. You see them coming out of the noise level. That decodes as CQ from W4IMD. And it showed up at 3.5 and 3.7 seconds, which is about there and there. And the dB is 16 and 18. That's a really strong meteor scatter signal. So I was managed to get most of a QSO between a couple people here. So you can KG5JJ answered W4IMD, and you can see it gave him his grid square. It was at a time of 9.8, so you can just barely see it there. And this kind of shows you what kind of a weak signal mode this is. And dB was 1, and even that is a pretty good signal. You can decode down to minus 20 dB at least. So that's a pretty weak signal mode. Another reason why you want a nice low noise antenna. Okay, you can see W4IMD came back with a signal report. You got 3 different decodes of IMD at this time. You can kind of see the 2 of them there. So if we go on to next one, I wasn't able to copy the signal report from JJ that came back, but IMD gave him his RRR. Again, this was a weak one at about 12.4. You can barely see it there. And JJ came back with his 7.3. Again, it's right there. It's kind of weak and not really big. And the next 7.3 from IMD kind of shows what happens when you have multiple meteors. So what you're seeing there is a lot of different meteor signals. 3 of them decoded. You can see they're back up to 16 or so, which is really high. The other ones, it did decode, kind of hard to tell. Sometimes it just didn't make it through the algorithm, or it could be somebody else had a signal coming in. But at any rate, that is kind of the demo for what they look like. Now, I also, since this is an audio file, I put this into Audacity. And let me bring that up. Okay, that shows. So I'll play it for you. You can hear what it sounds like. And when you come up to the signals here, they're pretty loud, but you'll get an idea. That's what's transmitted continuously when you're trying to make a contact. Uh-oh.
And Mike, what you may need to do on that is, as you share, there's an option to check to include your PC's audio with that.
Ah, gotcha.
So if you stop sharing and then reshare again, and tick that box, it should get you what you need.
Okay. So I do cancel and then share again.
Yeah, Sharon, you should see a checkbox there, Mike, to include your audio. Do you see that there as you're sharing?
No. Don't have a checkbox on my window.
Let me just take a quick. Oh, it's a slide bar at the top. It says include computer sound. Sorry, Mike. Do you see that there?
Nope.
All right.
Wait a second.
So when I click share, it gives me an option at the top to include computer sound.
No, mine doesn't.
Okay.
But that's okay. Here, let me. What I'll do is I'll stop sharing. And
It's on the little pop-up that you choose which window or desktop you want to share. It's on that screen.
Oh, gotcha. So let me try that. It is? I don't see anything.
Yeah, mine's right above the word
share,
desktop.
just share. Not here.
Okay. Well, the other option is to unshare your screen, and then like you, I think we're planning is just play the audio loud enough that it picks it up in your microphone.
Yep, that's what I was going to do.
Awesome.
So am I unshared?
Yes.
Okay, let's try it again. Hang on. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. I see. Because I'm using Bluetooth in my headphones.
Oh, that could be. I was wondering too if your Audacity sync device is still pointed to WSGT.
Yeah, it's blasting out my eardrums. Let's see, I'm going on speakers. Yeah, I can play it through my earbuds really well. I wonder. Let me try this. There it goes. There, you get that?
That worked.
So that's the end of the presentation. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Questions for Mike about meteor scatter?
Yeah, I have one. This is Chuck.
Yeah, go ahead, Chuck.
Is there any advantage of changing the elevation on your 6-meter antenna, or do you run that horizontal?
No, it's horizontal.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be very high.
Okay.
You figure unless your beam had a very narrow vertical beam width, there's probably not much reason. Yeah, the 5-element I've got is pretty broad.
Okay.
I've got a question for you, Mike. You referenced power. You said that you're running 700 watts now. Is that correct?
Yep.
How did you find the performance? I think you said that it was pretty tough before, and jumping up from 100 to 700 watts. How would you rate that? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, of the difference between the two.
1 to 10.
All
Well, I
right.
also remember when I was doing 100 watts, it was also on a vertical.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. And the
That's
reason I'm
what I was
asking, Mike,
gonna
is I've dabbled with some meteor scatter and I've made 5 or 6 contacts, but it's all been on 100 watts, and it's I hear a lot of contacts, but not many hear me, and that's been a challenge. So
Oh yeah, yeah, that's what happens. It's
okay.
kind of like moon bounce as well. If you have a station on the other side that's really high performance, they can hear a lot better than you do. So they're more likely to make a contact with you if they've got that.
Other questions for Mike?
Hey, Mike, it's Jason here.
Yes.
You mentioned that there's a couple of websites that people use to kind of schedule contacts, but
Yes.
I was also thinking about, compared to standard propagation where there's predicted forecast, if you will. Is there a similar thing for meteor scatter, like as a forecast, and then people are kind of looking at that to know when to make their schedule?
The random meteors, no. The meteor showers, yes. You know when the meteor shower is coming. So there are plenty of sites, that are more attuned to people looking at the visual meter scattered trails that, predict when they're coming, where to look, that kind of thing. So for that kind of stuff, yeah, there are. But for the random meteors, no, they're random.
Another question, and perhaps an interjection here as well, Mike. Have you ever used the Ping Jockey website?
You bet, all the time.
Do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because I think that may kind of answer Jason's question a little bit too.
Well, if you give me a couple minutes, I can bring it up. And I can share it with you.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to show the website. But you answered what I was thinking along the lines of that there is, forecasted meteor showers. We hear it sometimes on the news, right? During the weather reports on the local stations. I guess I didn't realize that there were kind of always some random ones happening. So that's something.
Oh, yeah. Yep, continuously. In fact, that's one of the modes that the military is used for communications. Of course, they're going to send megawatts of power out there. So any little meteor will do for them.
And I can also bring it up as well, Mike, if you want me to share from my end.
Sure.
All right, there's the website, and let me just see if I can. I don't see on the list to give control, but you should see it there as well. So, Jason, kind of to your question of, are they scheduled? Are they planned? Obviously, the meteor showers, the big showers happen, but this is a website that's used to kind of as a chat room, if you will, for lack of a better term, and to coordinate, I'll say, with other folks who are working to or trying to make high-speed meteor scatter contacts. So you'll see them adding some comments in here. They never exchange information as far as the contact details, grid square, that sort of stuff. That invalidates the contact, but this is a kind of a behind-the-scenes coordination, very similar to some of the microwave guys, where you hear them, on a coordination channel, and they're peeking up on each other and they're trying to do what they need to do. So it's all here. You can set up a schedule. You can use this as a means of communicating with an entire community of folks who are out there looking for meteor scatter contacts as well. Anything you want to add on that, Mike?
No, that's about right. Yeah, just looking at it, I haven't used it for a while. They've changed the look of it.
Yeah, it's a little different than the last time I was there. I haven't been there in a while as well, but All right, I'll
There's
stop
not-
sharing here. Any other questions for Mike?
I got one a bit off topic. Mike, are you using the Teams app or through a browser?
Browser?
Okay, that might relate to our earlier discussion.
Ah.
Different controls between the two. So
Yep.
that would make sense. All right. Last call. Any questions for Mike? Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. Fascinating presentation. Appreciate you taking the time to put that together and share with us a little bit about meteor scatter.